Good day, everybody. This is E. Marcel Patu, and welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Blitz. We're going to recap the past week of the NFL season, which was week 7. So we're going to go over all of the contests and some other news and notes in the world of the NFL. As always, to follow everything that we do, go to the mothership, the sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go there and see our NFL predictions in the other edition of the Gridiron Blitz. We usually do one before the games take place. You can see how bad my prognostication skills are and see how me betting against the line is not the sharpest idea. But we do it anyway. It's for fun. Don't use your real money on it. Please don't do that, because you would be out of your house very quickly, losing all of your funds. But we still do it just to talk about football, and there's always a good reason to do that. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Do a search there under Sports Inquirer. You'll be able to keep track of all that we have going on. I know this is a themed show about the NFL, but we also cover college football. We cover the NBA. We cover martial arts. We do a lot of different things on this show. So make sure that you go to our platforms on social media, keep track of all the stuff that we have going on. And then finally, subscribe to our audio and video hosts, such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Go to any of those places, search for the Sports Inquirer. You'll be able to find us. And whenever we do a post, we do a lot of interviews from a variety of entities, whether it's collegiate sports to professional sports. All of those are up on those platforms. And whether you're watching this, us, hello, or listening, hello to you as well. And all those audio and video hosts are a great way to keep track of all that we have going on. So we're at the point of the regular season. We're reaching that, 18 week or 17 weeks of the regular season. It used to be week 8 was the midway point, the official one. But since it's an odd number of games, what's the midway point? But we're getting to that point right now where each team has played at least 6 contests. And that's a pretty good gauge of where your team is going to be. Now, to be fair, last year, Tampa, I believe, was 7-6, won out the rest of the way and won the Super Bowl. So even if you're a 500 team or below at this stage, you can still make a run in the postseason, but you have a better gauge of where your team is right now than as opposed to week 1 or 2. There have been 24 games with a game-winning score in a final minute of regulation or overtime this season. That's the most such amount of games the first 7 weeks all time. We've harped on this theme throughout. Parity is at a very high level. Now, there's some teams that are undefeated, like Arizona, and there's some others with only 1 win, like Jacksonville. And the difference between those 2 teams is pretty high. But that in between is very strong. The difference between a 5-win team and a 3-win team at this stage is probably a possession or 2. And you're starting to see that throughout all of these contests. There were some blowouts, yes, but there are also some very competitive games. All right, let's start with the game that got the most attention nationally, and to me as well. Tennessee defeating Kansas City 27-3. And I look at this contest where I want to say Kansas City is being caught up to, but I think the error of their ways is starting to be caught up to as far as the rest of the league. The turnovers are really hurting Kansas City. Pat Mahomes, 6 straight games with the interception, took a knee to the head, left the game early. Kansas City was never in this contest from the beginning to the end. Even when Mahomes was in there, reckless interceptions, and that's where they put up a lot of yards. They put up a lot of numbers. I mean, Travis Kelce had 7 catches, became the 4th highest amount of games by a tight end in NFL history to have at least 5 catches in the contest. That was the 79th time doing that. Passing Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp. Tyreek Hill is the first player in several years with 50 receptions, 50 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns through the first receiving touchdowns through the first 6 games of the season. Let me read that again. I like the stats, but there are a lot of them. So right now, he has 52 receptions for 641 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's the 5th player to reach those milestones in each of his first 6 seasons in NFL history. Marvin Harrison and Randy Moss, Hall of Famers, are in that group, as well as Gary Clark and Larry Fitzgerald. And Fitzy will be in the Hall of Fame soon enough. So they're putting up the numbers, and as far as yardage, but the point totals, 3 points, lowest amount of points scored in the contest in the Andy Reid era. That comes down to errors in turnovers. And Kansas City, you look at the landscape right now, they're the 3rd best team in that division. The Chargers are better and have beaten them in Kansas City. And you got to say the Raiders are better right now. They haven't faced each other yet, but they are both of those teams, I would say, are better in the AFC West. In Tennessee, it was interesting because you're seeing now the balance of having a Derrick Henry in the lineup and how it helps A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, their outside options, especially A.J. Brown, who had more than 100 yards receiving in the contest. You look at Derrick Henry, 20-plus rushes, think only had 80-plus rushing yards. You think, oh, that's a bad effort. Not at all. The threat of Henry, they saw what he did last week against Buffalo on Monday Night Football. I think he had 3 touchdowns. Him being that rushing threat opens up so many options for the outside receivers, particularly Brown, who's had he's had 2,000-yard receiving seasons his first few years in the NFL. So he's an elite receiver, but having Derrick Henry there has helped to cause so much in his development. And Tennessee is a very interesting division right now because going into the season, I picked Indianapolis to win, and they had a good win against the 49ers. We'll get to that in a moment. But overall, that was a very important win for Tennessee to keep pace with the Colts. And they have a decent pass rush now. Bud Dupree is with the Titans right now, giving them that option to rush the quarterback. That's a very good situation for Tennessee to be in. And as far as Kansas City goes, I don't want to say they're not going to be in the playoffs. They're my pick to be in the Super Bowl. Actually, no, they're picked to be in the AFC Championship game. Buffalo's my Super Bowl team. But I didn't expect this from them. And the defense everyone's trying to blame the defense. And to be fair, they are giving up 28-plus points a contest this entire season. That's beyond pedestrian. That is historically bad levels of defense. But they've always had defensive issues. It's the offense that's been able to bail them out over the past few years. And the turnovers are just hurting them in so many ways. So that's something to keep your eye on with Kansas City as the season progresses. We thought that Cincinnati would be a solid team this year. I didn't think they'd be the best team in the division, and that's what they are right now. The Bengals were able to go to Baltimore and win 41-17. Joe Burrow, career-high 416 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in the contest. Jamar Chase, rookie receiver, 201 receiving yards and 1 TD in the victory. Burrow became the 4th player with at least 2 games of 400 yards or more passing and 3 touchdowns within his first 20 career games. Other guys, Nick Foles, Pat Mahomes, and the great Billy Volek, the Titans legend. I don't think I was living in Nashville when he was with the Titans, but I do remember Volek and all of his exploits throughout the league. But he's not the best quarterback in the league. It's very early to make that prognostication, but considering the circumstances, him coming back from the ACL injury, it's the Bengals. There's a losing franchise, and to be fair, they had some good moments with Andy Dalton and AJ Green. They made the playoffs and everything like that, but it's the Bengals, one of the more downtrodden franchises in the NFL. So he goes into that situation, coming off of a knee injury, and has them 5-2 so far this year. Tremendous effort by Cincinnati. And Jamar Chase, remember in the preseason when he was having the drops, say he had issues with the ball, and I guess the lines on the ball and then with the lines on the field, and was struggling to catch the ball. I think he figured it out by the regular season. Second youngest player in league history with at least 200 receiving yards in a single game, only trailing Mike Evans by a few days. They were both 21 years old when they got that 200-yard mark. So far this year, he has 554 receiving yards, surpassed Harlan Hill for the most receiving yards by a player in his first 7 career games. Harlan Hill did that back in 1954. So that's been a long time since a rookie has come in and had this impact. Final stat on Chase. Right now, he's the fifth rookie since 1970 with at least 150 receiving yards and a touchdown reception in multiple games in his rookie campaign. Only other guys to do that, Randy Moss, Ken Burrow, Justin Jefferson just last year, and then Torrey Smith back in 2011. So Chase has become, I don't want to say he's the best receiver in the NFL, but he's making a conversation. He's the best start this season, probably of any receiver in the NFL. I mean, Cooper Kupp is balling out of control with the Rams. I'll give you that. But just that combination of Burrow and Chase have been a major contributor to the success of the Bengals. And I was listening to a national show and saying that the Ravens didn't take the Bengals seriously. Well, the Ravens had a lead in the first half, and it wasn't like the Bengals jumped out 20-0 in the first quarter and punched them in the mouth, and it was like, oh, the Ravens they're done. No, the Ravens were competitive in this contest all the way through the first quarter, even into the second quarter. Then the Bengals turned it on and just kept the domination going. I don't think this is the end of the Ravens. I'm not saying they're going to be last place in the division. I'm not going to say that the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl, but it does indicate that there is a very competitive balance in that AFC North. The Browns are dealing with their own injury issues. I think they're going to regress in that division. Pittsburgh, it's all on Roethlisberger and his health, and if he can actually stay upright this entire season and throw the ball down the field with any level of consistency, the opening is there for the Bengals to be that team to win the division, and that's a very unique thing to say in that division for a very long time. So very good win for the Bengals over the Ravens. Speaking of the Browns, they were able to defeat the Denver 17-14. That was a Thursday night contest. Simply put, Case Keenum, if he can be competent in that starting quarterback position, the Browns still have a chance to be a postseason team and possibly make a run in the playoffs. We've seen Keenum do this before when he was with the Vikings. He led them all the way to the NFC Championship game a few years ago. So he's not immune or unfamiliar with leading a team on a long postseason run. Baker Mayfield, I don't think he plays the rest of the season for two reasons. One, the actual injuries themselves, torn labrum, maybe a clavicle or shoulder issue, a broken bone in that area. He's not coming back from that. He can shoot up all he wants, take all the medicine, have a high pain tolerance. And I know it's his non-throwing shoulder, which helps. But that's going to be very tough for him to come back from. And two, I think the Browns are going to be competent enough that they're going to let him sit on the side. And he is their franchise guy for now. And the contract negotiations for the future, that's another conversation for another day. But they want him healthy and upright and playing well for a long time with that franchise. So when you have all of that going on, you're not going to just rush him back onto the field when he's 80% or 90%. If they redshirt him the rest of this year, that's not the worst thing in the world. He's under contract for another year. He can come back, they have a prove-it year. And then if he does really well, then they can franchise him. So there's no need to see him play on the field to see if he's worthy of a contract extension. He's under contract for at least another year on a base salary that's very fair. So I think in that situation, and if Keenum balls out of control, which he's not going to, but if he plays competent enough, if you have a QB competition at the offseason, you worry about that at the offseason. But I think that right now, having Keenum in there gives the Browns the best opportunity to win. If they get Chubb back, they can run the ball well. They got to get Odell Beckham going. That's a big issue for them. I don't know if he's still dealing with the knee injury or is mentally not there in his head, but he has not played up to a high standard. He's got to figure that out. They have to figure that out because he still has the talent to be a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and that's a major weapon that they need. If he can go on the outside and provide some big plays, that opens up the running game with Chubb and Hunt and a very strong offensive line. The Browns can do some things, but they got to get Odell going, and we'll see what happens there with the Browns. Green Bay defeated Washington 24-10. Pretty standard performance by The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdown passes, no picks. QB rating of 127.6. Fourth quarterback in NFL history with 70 career games with at least a QB rating of 100 or higher. Only other guys above him, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. So he's an arguably top 10 quarterbacks all time. Rodgers right in that conversation as well. I say it's pedestrian performance because they're kind of under the radar right now, which is good for them. And I think that the Bucs are under the radar too, and we'll get to them in a second. But I think there's been so many interesting storylines going on in the NFL. Dallas, the Cowboys, are they a Super Bowl contender? They're playing really well right now. Arizona, the only undefeated team in the entire NFL, they're getting a lot of attention. You look at the West, the Chargers, the Raiders, for on and off the field, they're getting a lot of attention from the league. I mentioned the Bengals, the Ravens. All of these teams are getting a lot of attention. Buffalo to a certain degree as well. All of these national stories, Green Bay's just been very quietly going about their business. And remember, in this offseason, we all know the drama between Aaron Rodgers and the front office and all the things going on there. We don't have to rehash all of that stuff. But they have been able to go on the field. There have been no questions about if he's going to come back next season. No mentions of Jordan Love. They have been very quietly playing and winning, and that's good for them. Not a lot of noise coming out of Green Bay. Similar to Tampa, and you would think with the defending Super Bowl champions and Tom Brady, that'd be enough to garner a lot of attention and a lot of noise on a national scale. They defeated the Bucs defeated the Bears 38-3, and Tom Brady had a lot of accolades, and we'll get to those in a moment. But you look at the Bucs. Are they getting a lot of national attention? At least from my end in Atlanta, Georgia, not really. We all know that they're very good and they're going to be in the Super Bowl picture, but we're not hearing a lot of drama about someone being angry or wanting more money or discontent. And that's a lot of times happens when even with Kansas City. We saw that after they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, talking about a dynasty, and we're going to Jordan won 6 titles. We're going to win 7. We're going to be the next topic of the last dance in the future. All of that talk and all of that barking from Kansas City lost Super Bowl last year, and look where they are now. A lot of distractions going on there. Tampa, not too much of that at all, and they're rolling. And then Tom Brady, biggest thing, first quarterback NFL history with 600 career touchdown passes. He's actually at 602. First quarterback to reach that mark. So now he's the all-time leader in passing yards and TD passes. Tom Brady, once again, just continues with the accolades. Tied Drew Brees for the most games with 3 or more touchdown passes. 97 games 97 of those games. He is just actually with Brady, 37 career games with at least 4 TD passes. 97 career games with at least 3 TD passes. Both of those tied Drew Brees for most of NFL history. And even this year, at age 44, right now has 203 completions and 21 touchdown passes in the first 7 games of the season. Only other guys to accomplish that amount through the first 7 games of the year, Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. So he's not a compiler. I mean, all these numbers that would be all-time career, you're compiling to some point because you're playing long enough, but he's still playing at a high level even now at this era. He's going to be the MVP of the league. Outside of, Kyler Murray may get some love, but they go like 15-1, 16-1, and all that stuff. Maybe Kyler Murray gets love, but it's Tom Brady's. This probably is you don't want to say it's his last year or last chance. He's won MVPs before, so it's not like he's never won one before. Not like when Drew Brees was off to a hot start. It was like, let's give a career lifetime achievement MVP award to Brees. Brady's been there, done with the MVP. But this will be the nice. It's the storylines work out so well. Just his age, defending champions, and all the stuff has been going Brady's way. So I'd say he's going to be the MVP unless something crazy happens. Indianapolis defeated San Francisco 38-18. Very interesting with the Colts. Carson Wentz starting to find some more comfort with the Colts. Having Quentin Nelson back, arguably the best. He's the best guard in the league, maybe the best offensive lineman in the entire league. Having him back in the lineup is a help. But the Colts are a team. It was a rainy day in San Francisco. But still able to didn't turn the ball over to so much. I don't think he had a turnover in the contest. Maybe he had one. I don't have those stats particularly in front of me, but took care of the ball, efficient, and that's what the Colts need if they want to contend in the AFC South, and they're right there in contention for that division title. As far as the 49ers, they're really falling behind in that division. Right now, that division, when going into the season, you could have said, and you could have made an argument for any of those teams winning that AFC West. Right now, it's a two-horse race. It's the Rams and the Cards. For 49ers, they're not going to win that division. They're not going to be a playoff team. And the Seahawks have even bigger issues. They're not going to be a playoff team either. I just don't see those two teams rising. But San Francisco right now, what do you do? Garoppolo came back and played for them, but Trey Lance is sitting right there. Do you get him in the lineup right now and get his clock running, get him started, rookie quarterback, and get him acclimated? Or do you just ride it out with Garoppolo, who's probably not going to be on the team next year anyway? Very interested to see what happens there with the 49ers as they roll along. Atlanta defeated the Dolphins 30-28. Dolphins were very much in this contest. Tua had 2 TD passes and had a nice TD pass to tight end with less than 3 minutes remaining to give the Dolphins a 28-27 lead late in the fourth quarter. But the Falcons were able to drive the ball down the field. Big catch by Kyle Pitts towards the sideline to extend that drive. Younghoe Koo came in, kicked the game-winning field goal as time expired. Falcons have won 3 of their last 4 games and are now 3-3 on the season, while the Dolphins fall to 1-6. And you have to wonder what's going on with Tua and the Dolphins. I had them as a playoff team in the preseason, and they've been very disappointing on both sides of the ball. Defensively, not as stout as they were last year. Offensively, Tua has not produced at a very high level. He played well against the Falcons, but he has not been a big contributor to the team. And you have to wonder if the Deshaun Watson trade rumors are affecting that team. You know that Stephen Ross, owner of the team, very aggressive, wants a franchise player for that organization. Deshaun Watson has been on a trading block all season. With the trade deadline coming up in less than 2 weeks, the clock is moving on these teams if they want to trade for Watson. That's why you're hearing about Carolina being very interested in him and Philadelphia possibly. But right now, the Dolphins look to be the clubhouse leader in those trade rumors. And I know Brian Flores, the head coach of the team, has said, I don't listen to all that stuff. Tua is our quarterback. It's not up to you, Brian. That's an ownership deal for 2 reasons. One is the quarterback. Ownership, they're not – some owners are going to care. If you're Jerry Jones or Al Davis back in the day, who loved to break down film and be general managers and the owner of the team, they're not going to break down who your backup offensive linemen are. But they are going to know who the quarterback is, because that's the marquee position, and it's very tangible and easy to see. That's a good quarterback. That's a bad quarterback. Ownership always has big say in who the quarterback of the team is going to be. So it goes beyond the head coach as far as who the quarterback. I mean, the head coach has a say. Yes, it's his team to run on the field, sure. But when it comes to getting a franchise caliber quarterback like Deshaun Watson, that's beyond your pay grade. So he can say all he wants. That's going to come down to Ross. And then 2, the legal issues that are tied to Watson. We all know what they are, the allegations of assault against him. So it has to be resolved in the legal realm, but also in the NFL, because technically he's been paid not to play. He hasn't been demoted or suspended. I don't know what the situation is there, but he's like a healthy scratch in essence. So the league has not had to do anything with him or put him on the commissioner exempt list, suspend him for conduct detrimental to the league and all that other stuff. So once he gets traded, if he gets traded, whatever the situation is, if he gets traded to the Dolphins, hypothetically, then the league may have to step in and suspend him or put him on that exempt list and all that stuff. That's ownership. That's something that they're going to have a say in. So I don't think that Flores is, and he's a good coach. Had a very good season last year. Team's not playing so well this year, but he has potential to be a very good head coach. We all know that. But as far as who's going to decide, the quarterback on the roster and come to Deshaun Watson, that he's not going to have much say at all in that situation. But yeah, the Dolphins right now, 1-6, just not having a good year at all. And give credit to Atlanta. And I was very critical of them not selecting a quarterback in this past draft. I thought Kyle Pitts as a number 4 overall pick as a tight end was a little high for Pitts, but you have to give him credit. He has produced at a very high level as a rookie. He has 7 receptions for 163 yards in that victory for the Falcons. Second, or actually the fourth most by yards by a receiver in a single game, a tight end in a single game. Only Hall of Famers Jackie Smith, Mike Ditka, and Mark Bavaro. He should be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm a Giants fan, sentimental purposes. He's not a Hall of Famer, I get it. But Jackie Smith, Mike Ditka, and Mark Bavaro, only other rookie tight ends to have more receiving yards in a contest. So that was a very big performance for him so far in his career. And right now, he actually has 471 receiving yards this season. Only other guy, he actually has the most receiving yards by tight end through the first 6 games of his career. Second guy, he surpassed Mike Ditka in that mark. So that's a very he's doing very well as a tight end. And I know he flanks out a lot as a receiver, and he may as well be a receiver. But he's tight end is his position. He's played at a very high level, and I think that it's tough because he's going to put up some very solid numbers. It may not translate necessarily to wins and losses because his impact, as all those numbers I mentioned, are very good. It's not going to be as big as compared to a quarterback, but he has played very well this season, and you have to acknowledge that. And he's had a very good start, to his career for the Falcons. And Waddle, for the wide receiver for the Dolphins, he had 7 catches for 83 yards in that contest. He has 44 receptions through his first 7 games, second most in NFL history. Only other guy to have more catches through his first 7 career games, Eddie Royal, back in 2008. So Waddle's gone off to a good start as well as a rookie wide receiver, but the Dolphins just have a lot of issues going on there. New England defeated the Jets 54-13. I actually thought that the Patriots would not cover this contest. I picked the Jets, and the Jets did not show up at all. Zach Wilson injured in the contest, has a PCL injury in his knee. He's going to be out a few weeks. The Jets just are, I don't think they've scored a point in the first quarter all season. Just from the jump were bad. Very, very bad. And Salah has a lot of credentials as a coordinator, especially on the defensive end. So you got to give him a chance as the head coach of the team in his first year. But the Jets just do not look inspired at all. And the Patriots played well. Mac Jones, 301 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks in the contest. So he's starting to find himself in the system, in rhythm. And they're letting him throw the ball down the field a little bit more. All of these checkdowns. And look, the completion percentage is very high. And that's important. You got to complete a lot of balls. I get all of that. But they're being more aggressive, letting him throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field. And they got to do that to get that offense going. I still think that they don't have enough horses and enough to be a playoff team, but you have to be encouraged if you're a Patriots supporter with Mac Jones and how he's played the past few games. Giants defeated the Carolina Panthers 25-3. The Giants actually played well, but it's more about Carolina. Off to such a good start this season, but now have a losing streak going. They've lost the last 4 contests. Sam Darnold, 7 interceptions in those 4 contests. Got benched in the fourth quarter. All the stuff I mentioned about Watson to the Dolphins, just replace the Dolphins with the Panthers, same scenario. So we'll see what happens there with Carolina in the future. Las Vegas, 2-0 under the non-Jon Gruden era as they defeated the Eagles 33-22. Derek Carr had a completion percentage of 91.2%, 323 passing yards, and 2 TDs. Did have a pick, but still, very strong performance for him in the victory. That completion percentage of 91.2% is the second highest all time for a player with at least 30 passing attempts. He attempted 34 passes in the contest. Only other guy with a higher percentage was Drew Brees back in 2019. So he was just on fire. 31 of 34 completions. Could not throw a bad ball at all. And instead, with respect to the Raiders, we all know the things going on with Jon Gruden. He was dismissed he resigned, but he was dismissed as the head coach of the team a few weeks ago. They are 2-0 since then. I believe they won at Denver last week and were able to win at home against Philadelphia this past week. Darren Waller didn't even play. He was out of the contest. Their best receiver, so I want to say their best player on that team, and maybe the best tight end in the NFL. So even with him unavailable, Derek Carr carried the team and got him to a victory. And the Raiders are finding themselves in playoff position. So that was a very good win for the Raiders as we roll along. The West, as I mentioned, for the AFC and the NFC for that matter, is just very, very strong. Rams defeated the Lions 28-19. I mentioned Cooper Kupp, 10 receptions, 56 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns in the contest. Fourth player in the Super Bowl era with at least 2 touchdown receptions in 4 of the team's first 7 games. Only other guys to do that, Hall of Famers Calvin Johnson and Randy Moss and Steve Watson back in 1981. This season, Kupp has 809 receiving yards and 9 touchdown receptions. First player in the Super Bowl era with at least 800 receiving yards and 9 TD receptions through the team's first 7 games. And Kupp also has had 9 receptions, 130 yards, 2 TDs in Week 6. So he became the 5th wide receiver with at least those marks in consecutive games, joining Drew Bennett, Antonio Brown, and Hall of Famer Chris Carter, who did it twice in his career. Carter was a beast. And Andre Rison back in 1990. So he's putting up historic numbers for a guy that we knew that numbers would probably improve a little bit with Matthew Stafford instead of Jared Goff at starting quarterback, but just a tremendous start for Kupp. He has put himself in the conversation. There's still some other guys you probably see as a better receiver, but he's been the best receiver in the league this year. He has been just an incredible performance by him so far this season for a Rams team that only has 1 loss on the season, yet are still in second place in their own division, as the Cardinals stayed undefeated with a 31-5 victory over Houston. The Cardinals are 7-0 for the first time since 1974. So this is a team they're not going to go undefeated the rest of the season, which is just not going to happen. But they're putting themselves in a very nice position to at least, and also the Rams are keeping pace. You may have a situation. And I think the Cowboys can separate themselves a little bit in the NFC East, but you may have a 13-win NFC West team not even win their division and have to go on the road in the first round. That's how wild that division is and how good the Cardinals have been and how good the Rams have been. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. And they're going to get even better. You saw Zach Ertz. He's now the new tight end for the Cardinals. He caught a TD pass in there. So he's going to get more acclimated and just add to their offensive weapons with Hopkins and A.J. Green. So Cardinals are going to put up a lot of points, and they're off to a great start. And then last night we saw New Orleans defeat Seattle 13-10. Not too much to take away from this contest. The Hawks they're not going to be a good team. I don't think the rest of the season. I know that Russell Wilson had this finger surgery. He may come back in about 3-4 weeks, but I just don't have confidence in that team at all. Defensively, they did, 13 points they only gave up. That's not bad. But they're not the same defense we've seen over the past few years. Offensively, with Geno Smith, they're not going to be able to put up enough points. They might go on a losing streak and put themselves out of contention for anything this year. And that concludes this edition of the Gridiron Blitz. Thanks for listening to the show. As always, you can go to the sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Sports Inquirer. And then finally, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.